First, a warning to listeners. This episode includes explicit discussion of emotional, physical, and sexual abuse. Please listen with care.
As a young girl, you're coming up and you don't have no one that tells you they love you.
Right.
You don't have a mom. You don't have a dad telling you they love you. You don't know how mom's supposed to embrace you, kiss you, say I love you, talk to you, talk all the baby talk, come give me a hug, bring you to school and give me a kiss. All this stuff that you don't get, the nurturing, you don't get. When you, as this young girl, get out here and the guy come to you and he say he likes you, and then y'all start dating, and then he used that big word that you never heard. Love. I love you.
From Fiore Communications, it's How I Got Here, a show of inspiring stories from Tallahassee area leaders, business owners, and neighbors, all the challenges, opportunities, inspirations, the twists and turns of life that led them to where they are today. Everyone has a story worth telling, and I am really grateful that we get to bring a few of them to you. I truly have been changed by my conversations with these amazing people, and I'm confident you will be too. I'm Dave Fiore, and in this episode, I speak with Debra Harris, founder of Making Miracles Haven, faith-based housing for mothers experiencing homelessness. Debra's journey includes years of physical and emotional abuse as a child and adult, having been let down by almost everyone she ever trusted or depended on. As a young mom, she worked to provide a better life for her children and break the cycles of abuse and financial dependence on a system that penalizes the working poor. Today, the New Orleans native is fulfilling her personal mission to help women with nowhere to turn move towards self-sufficiency with support and confidence. She is grateful for God's provision in her life and her ministry, and for those who continue to come alongside her to ensure Making Miracles does just that for years to come. We started our conversation talking about Debra's childhood in Louisiana.
It wasn't a picket fence, white picket fence at all. Growing up in New Orleans, Louisiana, my mom had a hard time trying to raise 5 children, never married, different fathers, and she didn't want welfare, so she figured, that wasn't enough money, so she tried to work. We lived off food stamps, but she did work, provide for us, and I think it just got too heavy for her, the burden of taking care of children, didn't have anyone to have her back to help her. Far as you don't have a husband, your mom lived there, but her mother had children the same age as my mom's children. So we had this huge, big old family, but no one was, how would you put that, educated to figure to go out, which my mom did complete high school. She was very smart, but the norm of life of being around everybody, you follow those shoes. So that's what she did. But at the time we were growing up, she, like I said, it got too heavy for her. I remember times of going home and we walking home and we looking at all our furniture is put outside. Back in those days, you didn't get eviction notice. You got, you didn't pay rent this month, so you need to get out.
So somebody just comes in and takes all your stuff out?
The landlord would hire some men to come in, and they would just take everything out and put it on the sidewalk. And then we would be coming home with my mom walking down the street, and you see people picking through your stuff, and you lose all of it. And then, that happened several times, and with her trying so hard and crying and trying, she snapped, and she went into a mental illness. She was diagnosed later on with schizophrenic.
Oh, okay.
And but the thing about it, she had this disease, but at the same time, she loved her kids. She never abused us. She tried to feed us. She tried her best. But every time she stumbled and fell, she didn't know how to get back up. And then moving with her mother, which had her problems as growing up as a young girl, it was like, where the love? Nobody had love. It was I never grew up with love, saying I love you. That just was strange.
Why do you think that was? You knew your mom loved you. Why?
I knew.
Yeah.
And that's the weird thing about it. It's like, if you know what I'm saying? It's weird, because if you know she loves you because she's trying to do this, and I think I picked it up. I was like maybe 6. So knowing she trying to feed us, knowing she had us with her, knowing she walked us to school every morning, knowing she came and picked us up every evening, brought us home and fed us wherever she lived. So I think that part with me said she loved us, but you don't know how to accept it. I don't know the feeling of it. It's just like I know my mom, because I know she loves me. She's taking care of me. She's trying. But at the same time, as I didn't understand that, as I grew up as a young girl, a young woman, a married woman, I didn't learn love until some years ago. And I'm almost 60 years old. So I did not know that love, being embraced and cared for and taken care of, that was love. And that we didn't have. So, just going over that with her. And
so how old were you and your siblings at this time when the family had to be broken apart?
I think I was about 8.
And you were the oldest?
I was the oldest. And I took the responsibility of taking care of my brothers and sister. It's like my mom, I don't know, it's like she just taught me to, because it was like she knew where she was lacking. So if she went in the hospital to have one of my little brothers at the time, she would come to me and she would go to the store and get all these get food and stuff. Back then, now we have microwave. Pop it in the microwave, bop, bop, it's done.
You had to cook it.
No, actually, you don't remember the dinners you put in the oven?
Oh, yeah. Frozen dinners.
Yeah. So she would show me how to set the oven and how long to keep it in there. And she would go in the hospital and she would lock us in the house.
You're like 5 or 6 years old?
I'm 7.
7?
Yes,
okay.
Between 7 and 8.
Okay.
And she would lock the doors and we would stay in the house. But that's because that was her mind. The schizophrenic had her thinking everybody was against her and everybody wanted to hurt her children. So she had to keep them.
So she wanted to lock you in to protect you.
Yeah, and she did. She did.
Right.
But we didn't see nothing wrong with it because we were children.
But you were changing diapers and stuff?
I changed diapers.
You were the mom.
I was the mom. Mm-hmm. And my brother, we were 10 months apart. And then I have a sister that was under him. I had another brother. And then I had the baby brother. Mm. So she would leave, have the babies, leave us there. And then I would make sure that everybody had something to eat. And then... So
there weren't other family members checking up on you?
You know what the craziest idea was? I mean, not the craziest idea. The craziest thing was we lived in this little section, go through the alley. My grandmother lived here. My mom's sister lived here. We lived in the back. Mm-hmm. So it's like we right here. And my mom did not trust them. That's how her schizophrenic had it. So she would leave, and my grandmother and my mom's sister would... Actually, you know what? It was so crazy. She put boards on the window. She nailed boards on each window so that, I don't know, if we couldn't get out and nobody could get in. Maybe that was her thinking. But they did break the boards down, and we would climb out the window, and we would stay there with her until she came out the hospital. And she would pick us up, bring us back home, and we start all over again doing the same thing, So it was. And then DCF was called on her, and they came in. They tried to help her. They gave her a chance of trying to help her and help us, and because we couldn't go outside and play. We had to always stay in. And
what about school?
Oh, no, she walked us to school every day.
Okay.
And she picked us up.
I think there are aspects of everybody's life that you assume are normal until you get around other people and you're like, wait, that's not normal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what were you thinking as a kid? Did you think this was just life, or did you, how did you take in this kind of very unusual upbringing?
It was life
Okay.
at that time, because I'm 6, 7, 8 years old.
It's just the way it is.
It's just the way it is. I remember, and happy that we did have a roof over our heads, because I can remember times where my mom got put out and we had to move in with my grandmother, and my grandmother would get mad with my mom and put us outside. So many times we slept in the yard, and sometimes we would put my mom. I was the oldest, so she would put me against the door on the step, and she would sit on the other step of the door, and we put this blanket like a tent around us with the suitcases holding the others, and my brothers and sisters would lay there, and me and my mom would sit like this. And then you would hear the people walking through the alley saying, "Oh my God, she really put her own daughter and grandkids out." That's a shame. But nowadays I think about it, nobody did anything. Nobody.
They would see you there and just, they could have helped, but they didn't.
Nobody helped. No. So, as a grown woman, I can understand my mom's position, because nobody helped her. Nobody helped her. And then they came in and took all our kids from her, and, we went into a foster home. Actually, we went into a group home where they had different floors in this group home. So the baby boys went here, and the infant went to the first floor. The second floor with the toddlers, and the next floor with the bigger kids. My brother, my sister, and I went to the top floor, and my little baby brothers all was split it between the floors. But we got to see each other because they would have a big cafeteria, so all families would eat together. So that was... You
got to see each other.
Yeah, we got to see each other, like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So we stayed there. I can't remember how long we stayed. I know under a year before they started fostering us out.
So how long were you there at that house?
We were there about a year and a half. We was there. And then my great-grandmother that stays in the country, Franklin, Louisiana, she had taken care of my mom when my mom was young. So my mom was supposed to be this awesome child they loved so much, which I still can't wrap that around my head, how you loved this woman when she was a child so much. But when you got custody of her children, y'all treated them like that. We was just there, That's another story going into, because going there to that house, beautiful house. We got in, we thought we was in heaven.
And so you were all reunited at this point, all the siblings?
Yeah, we all got reunited.
Right.
She came and took custody of. She said she wanted to take all the kids, keep them together.
So you were probably pretty excited about that.
I had all my brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
My goal was always them,
Right.
Long as I was with them and they was with me, I'm fine. So they bring us to this house, and we looking around. We're like, oh my God, And it's a typical thing when you're in foster care, and it makes you think when you see movies and people bring you into these families, and the kids come in, and the lady of the house, she's smiling, and the social worker thinks she did an awesome job placing you.
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? She have to leave.
Mm.
She leaves. And once she leave, who do that child have?
Mm.
You're there.
Right.
So then everything started changing. The rooms that we were supposed to be in. We had to be in one room. All of us.
All 5 of you.
Yes. And we all had to sleep in one bed.
Mm-hmm.
All 5 of us. Now they got other empty beds. But we could not go
in this big house.
We could
she
not.
could have spread you out.
Yeah, we couldn't.
Right.
We all stayed in this bed. And I didn't really worry about it either. Like I said, I'm young. I'm 9. I'm thinking about 9, 10 now. So I was like, it's okay. I have my brothers and sisters with me. I can take care of them and watch over them. Mm-hmm. It's all right. We can sleep together. We did before. What's the problem? Mm-hmm. We can do it. And then the beating started. Mm-hmm. The beating.
Do you know why? I mean, why you were getting beaten?
It was actually for just about anything. It was like, I don't know if, number one, for me, they didn't really like me. And it's crazy because we always, a lot of black people always want to say white people are prejudiced, right? Mm. Well, I experienced it on a black level, whereas my skin wasn't light enough. I was very dark skinned. Mm. So that didn't go well with them.
With your great-grandparents?
Yeah,
your great-grandmother?
Yeah, and she had her daughter living there, too. So it was 2. My step-grandfather was there, but he was nice. He always, leave those kids alone. Leave those kids alone. But it was them 2 that they were so high and mighty on the color. And
so lighter was better?
Was better. Okay. Lighter was better. Dark was ugly.
Okay.
Yeah, dark skin was very ugly. So as I grew up as a young woman, I dealt with that self-esteem.
You carried that with you?
Yep. I carried it for some years because that's what, I was always this black so-and-so, or where's that black this, or, and
that's how they would talk about you, your family?
And then I would be, actually, I remember one day I was in the house and I was doing something in one of the rooms, and my grandmother, she was talking to her daughter, and they were talking, and she said, I don't know where that old black be at, and she always would say that was in my head. That's who I was. And she said, when she said it, I turned and I said, oh, I'm in here.
Like you just responded to that. Like you knew it was you.
I knew it was me. So I responded. And she said, oh, Debra, you in here? But you just, called me that name.
Right.
So it was hard living there. Lived there 7 years. 7 years.
Did it ever get better?
Never opened the refrigerator. Never fixed you a sandwich. Never got a cold glass of water. They put out 1 cup, and we all had to drink from this 1 cup. We can go to the faucet and get some water, but we couldn't get ice cold water.
Do you have any idea why she would get you and wanted you if that was the way she was going to treat you?
I never, well, I think she just wanted my mom to feel, because she took care of my mom and they loved her, but my mom was light-skinned. Wow. So I didn't put all that together as I got, like I said, as a older woman, when I started really putting all my life together. And I had started writing stuff down, and then I stopped. But when I started putting it down, I started really thinking about it. It's like, were they really serious? They really did that. They really treated us like that, that we just wasn't, we was just there, and she would bring her granddaughter in for the summertime, and her daughter, actually, she was for a white man, but she looked like a white woman. I mean, my auntie, totally white. But the crazy thing about it, she was so nice to us. She came in, and one day, she lived out of town. Mm-hmm. And one night, my grandmother used to get mad at us because if one of us wet the bed, they would get mad at him. She would beat us, and then she would put us on the floor. And you're in the country with 20 degrees with one little thin blanket on the floor, and you got 5 kids balled up because we freezing. So we on this floor right next to the bed. We on the floor, and we so cold, and she comes in, and I'm sleeping, and I hear somebody crying. You know, I was trying to figure out. I don't know. I didn't shake it right quick of know it. It's just like I thought it was in my sleep, but I can hear somebody just crying and crying, and they were sitting right on the side of us. And then I woke up and I looked, and she was sitting on the floor. She was just crying. And my grandmother comes in, my great-grandmother. She comes in, and she said, "Girl, why are you sitting on that floor? Go to bed." And she said, "I'm not going to bed if these kids can't get in this bed. This is a shame. This is a shame." And I looked at her, and she was like, "This is a shame." And she was just crying and crying. And my grandmother, she said, "Children," no, she said, "Y'all get up. Y'all get up. Get in the bed, because this girl won't go to bed unless y'all get in the bed." So we got up, and we got in the bed, you know. And she just cried. And then next thing I know, she went back to bed, and we went to sleep and woke up, and it was, and I used to be so happy when she came in town.
Yeah.
Every time she came in town, I was so...
To have somebody stick up for you. So after those years and that period, at some point you were returned back to live with your mom?
Yeah, I think I was about 15 then. And it started just getting really bad. And I think I started getting to the point of a little rebellious, of getting mad about what they wanted me to do. And I just didn't want to do certain things anymore. And I was like, so I think by me reaching that age, I think they knew it too. Mm-hmm. So actually it was just time to get rid of me. And they threw all my clothes out. And so this particular day I would pick up all my stuff, pick it up, and I would go down the street again. And it was like, well, they put me on a Greyhound bus and sent me to New Orleans.
Just you?
Yeah. The other kids, they were younger, and
right.
And they knew I hated being separated from them because they were very cruel and abusive, and my brothers and sisters, to me, they were too small to take those licks. So I took them. You know, I would say, like, if one of them knocked something over and it broke, and I'll hurry up and say, "Oh, I'm sorry," and pick it up. And then they would beat me, because if I wouldn't say it...
Beat them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
you're going back to New Orleans to be with your mom.
I'm on the Greyhound bus, and I'm going back to New Orleans. My mom got married. She had a husband, and she had her own house, and she was doing good, you know. So I'm like, okay.
She's on medication?
She's on medication.
Okay.
Medication. They prescribed her Prolixin, and it's to keep her mind regulated and being normal. So I went back and got enrolled in school. She put me in school. I stayed there, and then my brother came, and so me and him was there. And then she had to go to court because I told her everything that was going on, and she said, you know, she had to. Her and my grandmother got together, and it was like, we got to get these kids.
Yeah.
Don't you feel like when I said that we got to get these kids and bring them home, that should have been so much love, right?
Mm-hmm.
No. We went right back, and oh my God. Once she got all of us back and taking care of us, sending us to school, buying our clothes, her husband there, I don't know, for some reason, she said she didn't need her medicine anymore. Mm-hmm. After you went through all this, your kids taken away from you, 7 years, and then they come back home, you decide a year later that you don't need your medicine anymore. So once she stopped, what happened?
Yeah.
Yep. She went into...
Everything went back the same way.
Yep. So...
Kind of back where you started.
Yeah. We was back where we started.
Just older
again.
now.
Just older.
Right.
I'm trying to figure out what to do.
So after high school, what happened? You finished high school,
no,
right?
What happened was before that.
Okay.
Before that. I I got involved with a young boy. Okay. And later on, when you hear about making miracles, then you'll know why I do what I do. As a young girl, you're coming up and you don't have no one that tells you they love you.
Right.
You don't have a mom. You don't have a dad telling you they love you. You don't know how mom's supposed to embrace you, kiss you, say I love you, talk to you, talk all the baby talk,
Right.
come give me a hug, bring you to school and give me a kiss. All this stuff that you don't get, the nurturing, you don't get. When you, as this young girl, get out here and the guy come to you and he say he likes you, and then y'all start dating, and then he used that big word that you never heard. Love. I love you. You're like, oh. And then, he touches you and tell you he loves you. So
and that you're pretty.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That I didn't hear that I was.
Right.
I didn't think I was. No, I didn't think I was.
Your vision of yourself was not pretty.
Was not pretty.
Right.
Yeah. But
because of what people had told you.
Yeah.
Or talked
behind
about
what
you.
they said.
Right.
About how she called me out and said, thing. So it was like.
So some guy comes along and says all the right things.
All the right things
right.
that you want to hear.
Yeah.
And you don't look into his past. You don't look into where he's living. You don't look if he got education, because that is not told to you. That's not, nobody instills into you education.
Right.
Nobody instills into you going to school, going to college. Nobody. Everybody is like on the block living, just living. Half of them on welfare. Get up in the morning, they home all day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Cooking. Or they got card games going on. Or they drinking. Or they sitting out on the porches, laughing and talking. And then you see the fights. So this is life. This norm. And I'm like, but I don't want to be like this. I don't want this. But at the same time, I'm pushed into it because now I'm with this boy. And he tells me all what I want to hear. And I get with him. I'm experiencing things that I never experienced before because I'm thinking it's love. I'm thinking that's love. Is there any possible way I thought about marriage? No. Because who talk about marriage? My mom wasn't married. My mom got married late on in life after all her children was taken care of. My grandmother wasn't married. She was married when she was 15, but she left her husband and with other men and had other children. So who talks about it? The whole block, nobody have husbands. You know what I'm saying? So who talks about being married? Who talks about saving yourself for marriage? That was never discussed. So you just feeling your way in. So but also I knew that I didn't want to go to that level. And I was, and that was a crazy thing. By me thinking I'm so much in love with him, I was forced. And as years, again, when I started putting everything together, I was actually raped. And didn't know it. Didn't know that that's what happened.
Because he didn't give you the option.
He didn't give me the option. He told me I had to,
That was part of dating. That was...
Yeah, I got myself stuck because I went over to his house. And it was just me and him. And one thing led to another, and I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. But no, I was not going to leave out that door. And I didn't. It happened, and he threatened me. He made me scared. But what's the crazy part about it is I still wanted his attention, his love. I still wanted it. And I stayed with him. And I overlooked it like it really didn't happen like that. He just wanted to really be with me. And he was just tired waiting. He just wanted to be with me. I guess that's what I thought. I don't know. But I stayed. I had 2 children for him. I stayed.
Yeah.
And through the abuse, I stayed.
And we'll be right back. How I Got Here is sponsored by Barano Heating and Air Conditioning in Tallahassee. I've been friends with Patrick Barano since we met in a chamber leads group about 15 years ago. I'll admit that I pursued him pretty hard to be his marketing firm and eventually won him over. And the reason I wanted to work with him is that I was already a customer and I knew what kind of company he and his father before him had built. He cares about his customers, he cares about his team, and he cares about this community. I've experienced Barano Heating and Air when they installed a complete system replacement a few years ago, and I enjoy peace of mind and same-day service with my Total Comfort Service Agreement. I've also been behind the scenes at their office and seen firsthand the true character of this company, and that's why we're so proud to represent them. To learn more or to schedule an appointment online anytime, visit baranoac.com. They really always will be there for you. And now back to the show. As you're with him for several years and you have the two children, what is your kind of mindset about life at that point? Are you finding some happiness in that?
No, I never found happiness in it with him. My happiness was with my children. I loved them. So then I thought about, I can't let them go through this. You know, I can't. I have to
Got to stop the cycle.
I have to break this cycle. I cannot let this touch my children. And the weird thing about it, I married him. I married him thinking, okay, God, why is I'm having this so hard? Why I can't be comfortable? What's going on? You know, what's going on? And in my head, I thought, well, maybe if we get married, things will change. You know, God bless it. So we got married.
Was he abusive to you?
He was always. He was
beyond the first time you were together, that obviously was.
He always, he slapped me when he wanted to, or, you know, try to demand me, you know. I would hide my money when I got paid because I had to pay the bills. And he knew I was going to pay him because I had two children. And he knew I would never let my kids sleep outside like I did.
Right.
You know, never let that happen. So
what was it about? I know you're in this cycle with as far as a partner, but why even at that young age did you decide to draw the line and say, because you have 3 generations of moms who are not kind to their children.
Right.
What was it about you at that point that said, my kids are not going to live that way?
I guess from the time I had them, you know, when I picked those babies up and that baby laid on my chest, and that was me, you know, and I said, I would never treat my kids like what I went through. Never, you know, and I didn't. I loved on my 2 children. I worked. And I worked hard. You know, I brought them to daycare in the morning. I caught buses. I didn't drive. I didn't know how to drive. Didn't have money to buy a car, but worked 2 jobs. I worked in the morning at Church's Fried Chicken, go 8 in the morning, and then get off at 4, drop them off at daycare, get on the bus, go to work, get back on the bus, pick them up, bring them home. Gave them their bath, fed them, put them in the bed. I know he would stay home at night to watch them while I had to go to work. Then I would take a little nap, and I would get up at 11, take a bath, get dressed, go. I worked at the gas station. I sit in the booth all night selling gas.
Wow.
And I would get off at 6 in the morning, and I would get all the way home, get them up, get them dressed for daycare. Take them to daycare, go to work, stay there till 5 o'clock.
How long did you do that?
Oh, I did it for a while.
Wow.
I did it for a while. It was hard. And
you were getting some assistance?
No.
Nothing?
I couldn't get any assistance.
Okay.
Because they say I made it too much money.
Right.
And I was like, what?
Yeah.
But the money I get is gone. You know, daycare, diapers, clothes, rent, utilities, phone. And that's the house phone, not cell phone. The house phone.
Right.
You know, I didn't have anything left. I barely had enough to put on the side to make sure I had bus money.
But you made too much
But I made
to qualify
too much
for assistance.
Yeah. So you are, how I used to say it is, you're rewarded not doing anything.
To not work, yeah.
Yeah. But when you out here working so hard and trying, you can't get anything.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get anything.
Yeah.
So they told me I couldn't. And I remember going there trying to fill out for food stamps, and she said that I was over too many hours. And she said, well, why don't you just cut back on your hours? I said, ma'am, I can't do that. If I do that, I got to pay rent. I have to make 40 hours every week plus, because I did some time overtime. I have to make that.
So what eventually led to the end of the marriage with your first husband?
One day it was so much going back and forth in his abusive ways and his drug. He got addicted to drugs. And one day I had, by that time, as we were together, like I said, within that 10 years, like I said, I always tried to figure how to do better, how to make the best out of what I was in, but also to support me and my kids better. Mm-hmm. So I stayed on the job with churches, and I became a manager. Because I was always trying to figure out to make more money and not work double all these different shifts, try to make more money on one job so I can go home.
That's a better plan.
Yeah. So that's what I was trying to do, and I had to get away. And the young lady that I was working with, she said, she was by herself, and she had 3 children. And she said, you can come stay with me till you get on your feet and stuff. And I went and stayed with her for a little while and till I can get myself together and get back on my feet. But I was working, and here come another young man, still married to my husband at that time. And this young man would come to my job, and he saw me, and he would try to talk to me. And man, I put up this wall, like no other man is going to ever take control of me again. Yeah. So it was like,
I can see why trust would be an issue.
Yeah. It was. He was a nice guy, but I didn't know that, and I wasn't willing to take that, But he kept coming to my job and talking to me, and I would look at him, roll my eyes, and I was like, oh my God, do you cook? Why you keep coming here? And he said, no. I said, do you have a girlfriend, a wife, or somebody? And I guess he wanted me to know, no, I have no wife, I have no girlfriend, So and he kept coming back and forth. And then one day he came and he said, can he have my number? And I thought about it a minute, and I wrote the number down. I said, here. I said, here. And he took it. And one of the ladies that was that worked with me, she was an older lady, and she was like, Debra, I really think that young guy really likes you. And I'm like, girl, I don't have time, I said, I don't have time. Mm-mm. And but he did. He called, and he talked, and he would come to my job, and we would talk. I told him I was married, but the situation was bad. I moved away, and I don't want to be, with him. Long story short, being with Perry, July 29th made 35 years we've been married.
35. Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
So obviously this is a new kind of it was a new kind of relationship for you.
Yeah.
Someone treating you
nice. Somebody thinking about me I didn't have to do everything.
Right.
He took that responsibility,
What was that hard for you to adjust to or even believe at first? Like, when am I going to see the real him, or when is it going to change?
Well, I didn't give him a chance. I was the crazy one because I put the wall up, so he knew not to overstep it.
Okay.
So that's why. And I was like, Debra, you have to stop because, I figured God sent this man to me because he knew what I wanted. So I had to realize you had a good person.
Yeah.
And I can't treat him like that. But I was treating him like that because I was broken.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
know, I was so broken, and I was scared, and I had to watch over my kids because here you bring
Yeah,
another
you're protecting
man.
them.
Yeah, you have to bring another man around your children. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it went like that for a while. It was very, very harsh sometimes, and but then I had to realize that this man really cared, and this man really he took care of 2 children. He didn't have any kids, and he brought 2 children to take care of them, you know.
You went back to school, you got a job in a lab, right? So you kind of entered a new phase of life in that way.
Well, what happened was, because I was still with Church's Fried Chicken, I was working days, nights, you know, long hours. We worked like 50 hours a week, just about. And now here I got a family. You know, me and Perry got married. We had a large wedding. I had like 25 people in my wedding.
Wow.
You know, 25 bridemaids, I think.
That's a big
wedding.
We
had this big wedding. Yeah. And we got married, and then life hits you. It's like, okay, it's now responsibility. It's bills. It's, you know, and, you know, we doing all that and working, and he's working hard. He always worked hard. So... and we making this a family, you know. And then we decide to have another baby, which would be his son, because he didn't have any kids.
So you went back to school, then you left. So how did that transition go?
What happened was, so I went into a medical assistant. I went and got a trade, and that was 10 months. I went to work in the morning. I switched to the night shift. So I went to school in the morning. I went from 10 to 2, Monday through Friday. And then I would get off from there and have my uniform and go straight to work. Because the kids would be at daycare and school. And then they get dropped off. And then the school bus would pick them up. I would go to work, go to school, and then I would go to work at night. By that time, Perry's home. He cooked and cleaned and washed clothes and, you know, fed them, made sure they went to bed. By the time I come home, 11, I'd say about 12 o'clock at night. And, you know, then it starts all over again. Get up in the morning, get the kids ready for school. I go to school. I come from school. I go back to work.
Yeah.
So,
you've been doing that since you were 8 years old.
Yeah, so it's nothing.
Yeah.
So I did that, and I finished, graduated, and I started working in the doctor's office as his assistant. And I stayed there for about, how long I stayed there? At least 5-6 years I worked in that office. And that's where I saw my life started picking up. I started picking up. And we started traveling, like going, like I said, I could be able to go out of town with the families and do stuff, you know, with the family. And I was excited about that. So, and I did that. And Perry worked. And next I know I had, what did I do after that? I went into the hospital. I started working for the hospital in New Orleans, and I became a phlebotomist. And
so how'd you end up in Tallahassee?
So I ended up in Tallahassee. Actually, Perry worked for McDonald's, and he was the maintenance guy in the store.
Okay.
We both came from minimum wage jobs, $3.35 an hour, you know. And they liked how he worked. He was always great at whatever he touched, you know. And the guy that owned the store, I guess he saw that in Perry. So he had Perry become his maintenance guy. And so then after that, Perry had worked with him for several years while we were there. And he decided that he wanted to sell all the stores that he had in New Orleans. He had 15 stores in New Orleans.
Wow.
And he was going to sell them, and he was coming to Tallahassee to buy 23. And that's where we had the big come up.
Wow, okay.
So I always tell people that was like, we sitting there like, okay. And you saw the Jefferson? Well, we moving on up, you know, so that's how we felt. We felt like we moving on to the east side, you know, we were like, we was moving all up. Yeah. So, you know, we come, you know, our backtrack coming from just being poor, you know, just not having anything and struggling to come into something, you know. And he said, well, Perry, I want you and your family to come to Tallahassee. And He made sure he gave Perry a good salary that he would be able to pay the mortgage. And I wasn't working then. And he also bought him a truck. So he bought a company truck so that Perry can drive around to all his stores and take
That makes
care.
sense. Yeah.
So he actually gave us a new start.
That's great. And you got a job too at Tallahassee Memorial. Is that right?
Worked there 25 years.
Wow. So you're at the lab, and so from what I read from your bio, that you were doing shift work, so that gave you blocks of days off.
Yeah. What happened was I started making miracles because of those shift hours and stuff. But why my originally plan was to open Making Miracles, because number one, my lifestyle, what I went through. Number two is what I saw when I was working in the hospital. I saw young girls coming up there having babies and didn't have anywhere to go. DCF was coming in, and it was like, they have to put them in take the babies. You're taking a baby from this girl, which they're doing their jobs. Nothing wrong with it. They're doing their job. But once they remove this child, and she's 17, you're putting her back out in the streets. Because, number one, she's going through the same thing. She don't know better because however she was raised, she don't know what love is. So she's with this young man. So everything just started rolling in my head about what I went through. And I was like, you know what? I think God put me through certain things to get me to where he wanted me.
Mm-hmm.
Because it made me strong. Because I could have failed. I could have got frustrated.
Yeah.
I could have got tired and say, I just give up. But I never gave up. So he wanted me to go back and use the strength that he gave me to show these young women that they can do it.
Okay, so you have this time where you start thinking about stuff, and you also fostered some children, right? That you ended up adopting, right? 3 sisters.
Yeah, 3 sisters.
Okay, so
and you know what? With those 3, what I have to say about those 3, when I told you that I didn't know what love was, I didn't know how to verbally say it because I had raised my kids, and I never really verbally said that to them. They just took it on like I did, like, I love you because I do everything for you. But, we decided to be foster parents because, number one, we had our last daughter, and she was, at that time, Raven was 4, and all my other kids were gone. They had to grow up, and they were into their relationships or whatever, they were gone. But as time went, it was like these 3 little girls came into the house, and man, I mean, they changed us. I mean, it was like, like they would say, I would drop them off, they turn around and say, love you, mommy. I'm like, love you, or they'll run up to me and hug me, and I kind of cringe because it's just what, even Perry, I saw it with him too, when they run up and hug him, he just, politely, break a loose and, because it wasn't normal for us.
Yeah.
It wasn't normal. And man, they just brought so much love in. I mean, I would be sleeping at night, go to bed, or come from work, and I'm sleeping, and they tiptoe in the room and kiss me on the forehead. Say, love you, mommy, kiss me on the forehead, and walk out. I mean, it's just...
So those 3 little girls changed your life.
They did. They changed that love. And they changed it with us, with me and Perry. Then I saw it change with my older kids, with their children, telling them they love them,
So how did Making Miracles go from an idea in your head that it needs, that this is an unserved need, and that your experience makes you kind of uniquely positioned to help mothers in this situation? How did it go from that idea to an actual group home and you actually serving moms?
Well, it started to, I think I was always, when I worked in the hospital, I would see these young girls that needed somewhere to stay. And then also I was working with young girls, the problems they were going through. And I was always finding myself kind of counseling them, mentoring them, talking to them while they was on the job, telling them they can, don't just settle. Just giving them advice all the time. And I saw it working. And like I say, seeing these young girls, and I don't know, I told Perry one day, I said, I think I'm going to open a group home. And he said, what? I'm like, yeah. And the crazy thing about it, I prayed about it and talked with God about it, but I had no experience in administration. I had no experience in what a budget would look like for something like that.
Yeah.
I just had a vision and a passion. And Perry said, okay, and I stepped out and just found a house that we can rent and start taking in ladies. That's what I did. I just stepped out.
And what was the idea as far as how long they would stay there?
We still said a year.
A year.
I still said a year,
Okay.
up to a year, because it's hard when you coming from nothing, you got to get into a job, you got to put the baby in daycare, you got to start working, you got to save money. And you had maybe a couple of them may come in and move a little faster than, but within that year, they pretty much was about ready, try to find them somewhere to stay. Or some of them, their names were on the low income list and it was waiting for them to call them.
Okay.
Yeah, and so they would just move over like that.
So what does Making Miracles look like today?
Oh my God, God's hands has been in this. I mean, he has grown. I have learned so much as time was going, years, what works, what don't work, what should I put in, what should I take out, and my main goal from when I started church was every Sunday. Bible study was every week. We had Bible study and we had church. Those two things were priority. If you wanted to come in, you agreed to that.
And you have multiple locations now?
No, we have one big location. Oh, God. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll show you how God blessed us.
So you moved to a bigger house?
Yeah.
Okay.
We had the small house, and I prayed about, God, we need something bigger, because I had to turn away a lot of girls. And some of them really would be crying they need somewhere, and I couldn't take them in. So I prayed about that, and, God heard me. And he opened some doors and put some people in my life that made it happen.
How many women can you serve at one time now?
Now we have 2 houses, so we can serve about 15. Yeah,
Okay.
about 15 women.
That's great. How are you funding it now? How are you operating?
Yeah.
How do you manage that today?
Man, like I said, God just put me in contact with just amazing people. Churches, just going into them and telling them about what I'm doing, showing what I'm doing, just reaching out, presentations, going in churches and telling people what I need, what I'm doing. So, that, and I think 2023, I had the opportunity to partner with a women pregnancy center.
Right.
Which was, oh my God, I was like, little bitty me with them. I was like, because they just great big organization, and I was like, I still do admire Jamie Brown and what they do, and I was like, okay, how can I get like that? How can I pick Making Miracles? And it was like we were doing it, but it's like to get people to really know this is legit. This is my heart. And mind you, the whole time I worked for them, I never got paid. The whole time I ran Making Miracles, I did not receive a salary.
Right.
When I became under the AWPC, I started receiving a salary from them because I became the director, and that was fine. But and I got to learn so much. I really did. I got to learn a lot of things. Like I say, I taught myself, and from some other people would, help me with. But the organization that they have, how to organize,
right,
and put stuff together.
So now you're back independent again.
Yeah, I'm back independent as of June 30th.
Okay.
I'm back independent. So I'm back with the boots on the ground.
Yeah.
So I'm back. But man, it's again, it just shows me how God never fails me. When I decided to split, my whole time I was thinking like, okay, God, I cried because I was like, how I'm going to do this? Mm-hmm. How I want Making Miracle to continue and being a legacy on what it's doing. how do I continue? Because once I walk away, and he was like, Debra, I'm your refuge. I never will leave you.
Right.
Debra, do you think how long I've been with you?
So it's going okay now, though?
Oh, my God. God is so good.
Yeah.
God is so good. God is good. We got to keep staff. Got all our insurance, paid up for the year, for the houses, car insurance. Man, I'm just so amazed. That's why I have to keep telling people how good God is, how he can turn things around to what you need. You know what I'm saying? As long as you trust and believe in him and have faith in him and go to him and ask him boldly what you need.
2 last questions.
Sure.
So, Debra, looking back, what is the one thing or person that has changed or altered the trajectory of your life to this point?
Well, like I said, number one has always been God. I mean, he's always been that. But the person, I would say, actually, that I became close with and actually kind of trained me and put me, I would say that we are not, together. But I would say Jamie Brown. I worked with her, she showed me how to do banquets. My banquet went from, my first banquet was $7,000. And I was excited.
Yeah.
Jamie said, we need to talk,
Right.
But they helped me and learned and taught me how to get out there.
Okay.
And speak to people and put these banquets on. So I could say she was really one of the persons that really helped me.
Yeah, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
All right, final question. This podcast is called How I Got Here. Mm-hmm. So we talked about how you got to this point in your life. Mm-hmm. Where do you think here might be for you in 3 to 5 years from now?
Well, actually, my vision for a couple of years now has always been, because I'm always a step ahead of myself sometimes, but I think the next one is apartment complexes. I would like for Making Miracles to own an apartment complex.
Okay.
Because that way, because we help these young ladies, we have a whole year working with them. We have a whole year of putting them on schedules for us taking care of the babies, feeding themselves, cooking, cleaning, because they have chores. And then we help them get jobs. They work. The goal is to save you money so that you can move out. But sometimes we stuck because the housing, the rent is too high. They have different apartments, but it's so many people.
Right.
But also, we have these low-income apartments, but we need to do better. And what I mean by do better is we need to start holding people accountable. We cannot put people in these apartments paying $50 a month and he's still there 10 years. And that's what we have to do in our communities. We have to come together to find a solution to break this cycle of homelessness and break the cycle of just being content. You got to get out of that, because we're bringing, it's not just hurting us now, it's going to hurt us later, because the next generation, it's these children that's coming up. We got to do something before they start growing up, or they're going to be sitting right where their mothers are.
Thanks for listening to the show. You can subscribe at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And while you're there, please leave us a review. It really does make a difference. Thanks to my amazing staff at Fiore Communications, who pick up the slack while I'm working on these podcasts, and to Troy Bloom for composing our theme music. You can hear more of Troy's creations on Facebook and Instagram at Troy Bloom Music. To connect with the podcast or suggest a future guest, follow us on social media or email us at podcast@fiorecommunications.com.